The seeds we sow planted in a field of dreams, row by row, a lamp at your feet. As they grow, they can change everything, changing direction through the hidden meanings from what was shown. Several roots were planted in a bigger spot. We take roots, reshape youth, deplete in the rot. The seeds we sow planted in a field of dreams, not knowing then how deep the soil would ask us to go. Hands trembling onshore, we pressed intention into earth that had known drought, earth that remembers storms, earth that carried the weight of footsteps long gone. Row by row, not all straight, not all even, but honest, some rows bent with doubt, some staggered under memory. Some were planted with faith alone because there was nothing else left to give. Row by row, we learned patience, we learned that progress does not announce itself, that growth is quiet, that what lives on the ground is doing the hardest work. A lamp at your feet, not a floodlight, not a burning sun, but a steady glow enough for the next step, enough to see we're not to fall, enough to keep moving when the path disappears into shadow. The lamp flickers sometimes when tested, it out lean close, asking if it was worth the oil, worth the carrying, worth the weight. But still it stayed lit. As they grow, slow at first, almost invisible, the seeds began their quiet rebellion against despair. Roots stretched cautiously, testing the soil, learning where the nourishment lived and where poison lingered. They can change everything, not all at once, not without cause, but completely, because once something begins to grow, the land is never the same. Changing direction, turning away from what once felt inevitable, turning from inherited damage, from cycles disguised as tradition, from voices that said this is as far as you go, through the hidden meanings from what was shown, lessons disguised as lost, truths buried in failure, clarity arriving only after the storm had passed. We learned to read between the lines of pain, to hear what silence had been teaching us all along. Severed roots were planted, this was the bravest act, to lift what had been torn, what had been yanked from familiar ground, and dare to believe it could live again. The roots were damaged, some were brittle with age, some were raw from sudden separation, some had never known space enough to grow, but still they were roots, still they remembered how to reach. In a bigger spot, wider than fear, deeper than history, open enough to allow mistakes, and strong enough to support growth. This new ground did not promise ease, only possibility. Retake roots, not returning to a hurt, but reclaiming what was lost, names, dreams, parts of the self buried to survive. Retake roots, digging through layers of expectation, through inherited shame, through the quiet belief that survival was the same as living. Reshape you, not by erasing the past, but by reframing it, by allowing younger selves to be seen without judgment, by forgiving what they did not know and honoring how hard they tried. Reshape you, giving it language, giving it safety, giving it permission to imagine a future that is not haunted by repetition. Depleting the rot, slow, deliberate, unglamorous work, rot that hid beneath surface smiles, rot fed by neglect, by unspoken grief, by wounds left to fester in silence. We learn rot does not disappear by pretending it isn't there. It must be exposed to air, to truth, to light. So we stayed, we did not abandon the field when the smell was strong, when the work was heavy, when turning the soil unearthed things we thought were long buried. Rain came, not always gently. Sometimes it felt like accusation, sometimes like grief with no words, but the seeds drank anyway. There were days nothing seemed to change, days when hope felt irresponsible, days when the lamp felt dim and the roads blurred together, but underground work continued. Twisted around stone, instead of breaking, they learned the language of resistance. How to bend without surrendering, how to search for water in unexpected places. Shoots broke through the surface, tentative green, vulnerable, exposed to wind, to doubt, to the judgment of the open sky. Some shoots did not survive, this was grief we had to accept. Not every seed becomes a tree, not every effort bears visible fruit. Loss does not mean failure, still we mourn, still we honor what tried. The field began to change, what was once barren held texture, movement, promise. Birds returned, insects stirred, life recognized life. We learned to listen to the language of leaves, to the timing of seasons, to the wisdom of waiting. intentional. We began to see beyond survival, to imagine harvest, to believe in abundance without denying reality.